An economics video, posting it on this channel just so I can post a link to the regular economics channel where I hope to put some new videos, but the old videos are worth watching too. It's all about the rich are evil, gotta stop the rich, and this is going to be more of that same. The Chad guy, I don't know, he posted a video somewhere, I don't know where the hell it is. It's not on his regular, the Chad 11804 or whatever it is. Channel, and but I know I saw it, so I don't know where it is. But anyway, so it's a response to him. He asked me about this money system stuff, and a lot of people talk about money like money's the problem. Money is not the problem. It really isn't. Money is a tiny part of the economy. It's just a way of exchanging stuff. It's just a way of having like a wild card for stuff, so we don't all have to carry stuff with us to transact. And all the money that exists, theoretically, and pretty explicitly, is an IOU on some real stuff held somewhere. So, like, the federal government's borrowed a ton of money, so it owes a whole lot of stuff. And that stuff has to be paid by the taxpayers. They have to pay in money, which is a representation of stuff. So they have to acquire, the currency. They have to sell some stuff, or they have to do some work that creates stuff that's of value, and they get to get the piece of money and give the money to the government so we can pay the debt and all that crap. But I mean, the money's not intrinsically the problem. The problem is the idea of who owns what, and wealth, and the generation of it, and the holding of it, the consolidating of it. And that's the real doom here. I mean, I can throw these stupid numbers at you, but again, 8,000 families control as much wealth as the bottom 70 million Americans. 8,000. I mean, so if you start increasing that 8,000 family and go to 20,000 or 50,000 or 100,000, these top 100,000 families basically own the world, and it's stupid. And what happens is they just break the whole I do something productive for you, you consume it, you do something productive for me, I consume it. They're just breaking this nice little thing that should, there's paint on my finger now, that should exist, where, I produce, you consume, I produce. This perfect world where we help each other through our endeavor to help ourselves. And the problem is that this interaction between us, there's this third person who's taking a profit on every exchange, and that's just fucking the system based on this thing, this claim of ownership. And until societies let go of that concept, they're doomed. I mean, they're always going to fail, and because the wealth is going to keep getting consolidated. We're back to monarchy. We have these horrible numbers. I mean, 1929, the numbers got obscene like they are now, with the Rockefellers and the Gettys and all the big industrialists controlled all the money in the economy. They owned everything, and they were renting a life to the rest of the world. The Roaring Twenties was all rent. It was all, people just rented a life. They rented a good time, and the payback was the crash. And we're walking into the same thing. The numbers are just as bad now, in terms of how few people own how much. And so we just walked into the same mess, and we did it in a longer period of time, and we took decades to do it this time rather than just 2 or 3 decades. We took 5 or 6, but it's the same impossible circumstance now, where there's just so many people claiming a right to interest on everything, every transaction, that there's just nothing that's going to happen. The other way to look at it is that there are a lot of people complain about how much money the government wastes. Most of the government money that's spent, that isn't spent on, Halliburton or some other damn rich corporation that takes out a huge profit for the owners. Most of it, when they hire some mailmen, or they hire some people to do this, or some scientists do that at the disease control center or some other thing, these people, even when they're inefficient, aren't squandering money. I mean, they're doing work, and they're doing work that usually has some infrastructure value to it. I mean, doctors and nurses and police and this, all, these are all useful human beings that most of the time are doing useful work, and maybe some of them are getting overpaid, but in comparison to the amount of money we're losing to people with wealth, it's just, there's no comparison. And the other thing to point out is those investments, those kind of workers are very good for our lives. And people who work at the Yellowstone Park or something, and people who work at a hospital, and people who work at some college funded science program, or even NASA or something else. These people are doing constructive work, whereas in some guy who's being hired by a rich guy to marble his floor, that work is a waste. Only a couple of people will enjoy it. It's squandered labor. It's useless labor. When you work to build yachts or gold plate toilets or do all this stuff for the extravagant, it has no social value. There's no recurring benefit. But when you buy internet, or when you invest in the phone system, or you do something that the rest of the human race uses, then we all gain the benefits of mass production. And so we all pay less, and so it's very productive expenditures. But the rich, it's very unproductive. Building Lamborghinis, it's just a waste of human resources, a waste of work. Those workers should be paid to do something more constructive, to invent, to create, to build something that people use, to build progress for all the people, not a lifestyle for a very tiny fraction of the human race. And so this whole economy thing is broken only because we just keep respecting the wealthy. It's just so fucking stupid, especially the inheritance part of it, where we respect somebody's right to inherit a head start, to just basically cheat, just plain friggin' cheat in the most important race in the world. It's like having the Olympics and just giving somebody a head start halfway down the track, and then just pulling, hitting the gun and saying go. It's ludicrous, and we put up with it, and we say that makes sense. We aren't outraged. At least not enough of us are outraged. I could see it when I was a kid. I could smell it when I heard, what? People inherit money, and then they're the same people pointing fingers and saying, pull up your bootstraps? What the fuck is that shit? You get a fucking head start in the race of life, and then you point your finger at somebody else and say, do this and do that? Who the fuck are you to point your finger at anybody, you fucking loafer? It's disgusting welfare. Welfare for people too stupid to figure out how to live a decent life. That's just a liability of humanity. But giving welfare to these pompous, arrogant assholes, these blue bloods who have made no contribution except to inherit ownership, fuck that. It's too silly for words, and it's what just makes the human race another reason I say it's just all fail, because we can't even get the simple things right. It's an obvious cheat. It's obviously stupid. Let's get rid of that crap. And yet if you say it, they'll be, oh, death tax, oh, you can't take away people's incentive, blah, bullshit. Nobody works for that cause. I'm going to make my kid the richest kid in the world. No, that's not what they're doing it for. It's not human nature. People are doing it because they're selfish motherfuckers, period. And even if they were doing it for their kids, it's nepotism. We shouldn't be glorifying nepotism. It's fine as an emotional response. It's fine, in stupid circumstances. Okay, really stupid circumstances, little personal circumstances. But you don't apply it as social policy. It's just plain stupid. And it's too bad Einstein, it's too bad everybody dies, but the brainiacs, there's no brainiacs out there saying what needs to be said to people. Because even Einstein figured this part out. That this is the nature of economics. All you got to do is dissect anything. You can see where the problem is, and the problem here is there's too many owners. There's too many people freeloading off the system and just claiming, I own, therefore I'm entitled to a paycheck simply because I own. And it's bullshit. It's nonsense. And if we just got rid of the extremes, everything over a few $1 million, we can have a real economy again. People can be paid 3 or 4 times what they're being paid now. That's how good a life you can have. But if you're going to keep saying, I'm going to pay the rich man, we're going to keep paying for that nonsense, we keep throwing all the incentive carrots in front of those assholes, then you're never going to have a system that works. So anyway, but it's not money's fault. Money didn't say borrow $13 trillion. You know, the assholes, Americans said that. I don't want to pay my taxes, and I want the rich to get richer. And, you know, they raised their hand on the stupidest things, and that's why we're in the stupid mess we're in. But the economy is, theoretically, on paper, it's fucked. There's no way it can work. It's got to fail somewhere. Somebody's got to get killed. Either the workers are going to get killed, or some of these IOUs have to not be paid. But anyway, that's all. Yeah.